All right, so here's our chain plate. This is my my template. So on this side, you can see that I haven't got that one piece of core material, or the old deck material out. And the reason for that is that the knee beneath, I have not finished glossing up. We started glossing this in the year before last, but we didn't complete it. All right, so I've started to lay up that last knee. So tonight I got another 3 layers of glass on that, and I will continue over the next few evenings to try and get that built up. I've got about ½ an inch to build up. It's a little extreme, but it's better that it's super strong than, you know, the opposite, not strong enough. That's the plan, just keep building this up. It's the next day, and all that epoxy is cured and dried. I've actually cleaned all the amine blush off of the surface, and now I'll sand away all this rough glass, and then we'll carry on with the next layer. I'm probably going to put a bit more thickened epoxy in the corner here, just to create that nice rounded curve, so that the 1708 fiberglass can fit tightly against it without any voids behind it. So I think the plan for today is to sand that glass and put in that fillet in the corner. All right, guys, the lamination of the knee continues. I've added five more layers in total, 2 the other night and 3 tonight. So it's coming along. I'm going to have to see how far away the chain plate is. I'm going to have to reopen that slot where the chain plate goes through and take a look at that, and just see exactly how far away from the chain plate we are now and how much needs to be built up. It's getting wider and it's getting thicker. All right, so I've built up that knee. I've got all the layers on. That'll bring it up to the level of bringing the chain plate to the right angle, or at least I think so. I'm going to put that chain plate in there. The last layer of glass may have been just a little bit too much, I suspect, to bring the angle just a little bit past where it was going to be. It's supposed to be 99.6 degrees, I believe. I'll have to check that. I got it written on the template. And so what I'm going to do is get that chain plate out of my box where I'm keeping them, and put it in, and we're going to see exactly how that's going to fit. So let's go up top and put that chain plate in place, and then we'll clamp it down here. And then we'll go back up and measure the angle and just see where we're at. All right, so here's our chain plate. This is my my template for that, to show exactly the profile that it had originally. So it's in the exact same place. You can kind of see it there, hopefully, on the camera. And once that fits in there and it goes around the chain plate like that, we know we're in the right position. As far as the angle or the pitch, it was actually, I've got it here as 99 degrees, but on the back it's 99.6 degrees. So that's what we're looking for, is 99.6 degrees. So we're going to place this in. I'm going to situate that so we can see the outline of that template is around the outline of where the chain plate sits. It's sitting flush to the deck, and there we go. So now what I got to do is go down and clamp it into place, so it's clamped against the knee, and we'll just see how that's going to work out as far as the angle, or what I'm referring to as the pitch, which is that angle of slope, sort of leaning backwards like this. Anyways, let me clamp that in, and I'll come back up. So now that we have this clamped in place, I can remove the bolt and remove our template and measure our angle. There we go. So I've got this the original angle measuring tool that I used to measure the angle before we took the plates out. Okay, set it to 0. And let's just see what our angle turns out to be. I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit more than we want it to be, but we'll see. Oh, 99.4. Well, that's within what I would consider acceptable. Yeah, 99.4. Let's see if I can, oops, get this out. Well, now it's 99.6. It all depends on where we put it exactly, but within 0.2. So there we go, 99.4. Perfectly acceptable. All right, so that's established that position for that chain plate. This allows us, once we have that firmly bolted in place, the chain plate into the knee that is, that allows us to remove our last piece of the original core. This is the last piece, guys. Once this is out of here, and we've got all the cracks filled between the pieces of Coosa, then we're marching on. We're moving on to something different. We're going to be on to probably the Boatworks. So hang in there. Let's take a look at what this looks like down below. When I looked, there's a bit of a space at the top of the chain plate, and there's no space at the bottom of the chain plate. So that area between the top and the bottom, where it doesn't quite come in contact with the knee, we're going to fill that with just a small amount of thickened epoxy with silica and some glass fiber in there, just to give it a bit more strength. So we're back down in the inside of the boat, and we're looking at that chain plate from the bottom side now. You can see that right here at the bottom, it's absolutely tight. Up here, there's a little bit of a gap. We're going to fill that up with some thickened epoxy, thickened with silica and some glass fiber. So in order to get that filled, what we're going to do is wrap this chain plate with packing tape, because the epoxy doesn't stick to the packing tape. We'll put the chain plate back in, we'll squish all the thickened epoxy out, and we'll let that cure. And then we should have a nice foundation for that chain plate to sit on. And in a few days we can drill a couple of holes to mount this chain plate in its proper location. Once that's done, we can remove the core material from the deck. All right, guys, I've cleaned up the knee. I got all the amine blush off, at least the surface. Well, I got it off all the surface. I sanded basically this surface, some of the others, but really this is what I'm concentrating on. So I'm ready to put in the thickened epoxy. What I'm going to do, I don't want to put that stainless steel chain plate in. What I'm going to do is use that starboard placeholder, because it won't stick to the epoxy. I'll wrap it in some packing tape as well, just to make sure that it doesn't adhere to the surface. And then, just because that starboard chain plate has a bit of a curve to it, it's not 100% straight like the stainless steel one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back up the starboard chain plate with the stainless steel one, just to hold it nice and straight. So that's the plan for that. I'm going to put it on time lapse, and you guys can watch. Okay, here you can see I'm applying some thickened epoxy to the surface. And now I'm putting in that temporary mock-up chain plate, and then backing it up with the stainless steel chain plate and clamping that in place. All right, guys, as you can see, we have that all nicely flattened out. We're going to have to wait for that to cure, and then tomorrow morning we can take that off. All right there, guys, I removed that piece that we put in yesterday to form this foundation for the chain plate. You can see it's relatively thin, but it's a nice flat surface for that to mate to. So the next step will be to fit the chain plate back in and drill the holes. I'll drill 2 holes for the chain plate, and then we can start removing that last remaining core from the deck. Basically ready to start mounting that chain plate. I'm going to put a couple of holes in there just to line it so we know where it's supposed to be, and that way I can take the core off the top. But the first step in doing that is to put this block in there. I think I've mentioned this before in a previous video. But if I haven't, this is the block that we're using. It basically just provides some alignment for the drill, so we're in the right orientation and that we're going basically straight through the chain plate, so it's not cocked in any way, shape, or form. So here we go. The first thing I do is I use this drill bit, a brad point, just to kind of establish the center. It's got like a point on there just to kind of start us in the center of the hole, and then I'll switch to a regular drill bit. I saw that move a little bit. I want to go up and just check that everything is in the same spot. So I went up and checked the chain plate hadn't moved, but that's fine. So I'm switching over from the brad point drill bit because this one doesn't cut very well as it goes through. I'm better to change to a conventional drill bit. So that's what I'm going to do now. All right, that looks good. Went through nicely. And now it's time to put that first bolt in there. All right, guys, I've got that guide off there for the drill. I'm gonna put a bolt through. Nice and snug. And there we go, that's one on. I'm not going to tighten them up too much because they really don't need to be. I'm going to do another one up here. So let's move this clamp a little bit. All right, put that guide back in, drill another hole. I'm going to do another one here, and that'll locate that chain plate. All right, on to the next hole. I've got the guide in again. We'll get that in there nice and straight. That should be good enough for the brad point bit, and then we'll switch bits over. Go through all the way. Ream that out nicely, and then we're ready to remove this guide again and put the other bolt through. All right, back with another bolt, and we'll put that through in this position. There we go. Normally we'd have a lock washer on there, but since this is temporary, this will suffice. So there we go. That allows us to take the last remaining piece of core material, the original core material, off the deck. All right, everybody, the chain plate's in. This is the one you can see from down below. I'm gonna remove that template. And there we go. So that's the last piece of skin and core material to remove, and I'm going to remove that now, and that's the end of that. I've got a few pieces of Coosa to put in, and then we'll start on with whatever comes next, whether it be the glassing or the Boatworks. But we're moving on. I'm going to spare you guys watching me remove all this core material. I'll show you the results afterwards. Well, I've got that area cleaned out, and that looks pretty good. So the next step is going to be to make a template, and then from the template make up the Coosa piece that's going to fit in there. So that's what we're doing going forward. Alright guys, I got that piece of Coosa cut and epoxied in. So now we'll let it go for a good 24 hours or so, and then we can unclamp it. That's the last of the ones that had core in it. There are still some that need the Coosa bonded in. So I still got a little bit more work to do before we can say the deck is finally done, but we're very, very close.